Well, good morning. We are in the very last week of the book of Ruth, Ruth chapter 4. So I heard somebody go, oh, man, I know. You know what? I'll write chapter 5 next week. No, but we're in the last week of chapter 4, this tiny little book of the Bible that ends up being incredibly consequential to the entire storyline of the Bible. Now, in many ways, the song that we just sang and that lyric, "He is faithful throughout all generations," will play really, really heavily in this message. And I just love that, how the songs and the messages, they just sort of tie together through the scriptures. So it'll play very heavily today. So just if you have not been with us, maybe it's your very first Sunday, you're like, man, I came on a Sunday where they're finishing a book of the Bible. It's only 4 chapters. Let me give you the Twitter version. Ruth and Naomi. Well, let's start with Naomi. Naomi goes from Israel. There's a famine, and she goes to this country, Moab, which is sort of a derogatory term if you're in Israel. They're like, oh, you're going to Moab? Ew, you know. They go to Moab, and this husband and wife, Naomi and her husband, Elimelech, have 2 sons, and they get married to Moabite women. And all the men die, like in the first couple verses of the book. They all die. And it's just Naomi and these 2 women, Orpah and Ruth. And Naomi says, hey, I got to head back to Israel. I'm going to head back to my homeland and just sort of survive on the charity of people. You guys go back to Moab. You've got a future. You're young. You've got a future. You could go get remarried. You could still have children. And they didn't have any kids. And one woman, Orpah, said, okay, and she went back. And the Bible doesn't really judge her. She just went back. But this one extraordinary woman named Ruth said, no, where you go, I'll go. Where you live, I'll live. Your God will be my God. And where you die, that's where I'm going to be buried. So she just very, very clearly was like, no, I am going to help you. I'm going to make a commitment to you until death do us part. And I will take care of you. You will not just be this old widow at the mercy of people. I'm young. I've got a strong back. I'll go glean in the fields. And that's what she did. Gleaning in the fields was like picking up the extras. So Ruth went and picked up the extras. And it just so happened, that phrase, or something around that phrase happens a lot in the book of Ruth. It just so happened. In other words, God was orchestrating. The hidden hand of God was working and they didn't know it. But the field that they were at was the field of this guy named Boaz. And Boaz was a guardian redeemer. In other words, he was a kinsman. He was somebody who was nearly related to her father-in-law, Elimelech, and in that time could redeem her. In other words, Elimelech had a property, a piece of land. He could buy that property, and with that property comes Ruth. And he's got to have a baby with her and basically have a baby for the husband that she lost, and so that her generational family line can continue. I know it's strange, it's weird, it's not our ethic today. This is the Bronze Age Israel that we're talking about here, right? So Ruth is this uncommon woman who is uncommonly committed to her mother-in-law. And there's one Hebrew word that really just defines this whole book and Ruth's entire attitude towards Boaz and Boaz's entire attitude towards Ruth. And we've talked about this word at length. It's the word hesed. And that is loving kindness. It's the loving kindness that only the Lord brings. And so last week we ended our story where Naomi said to Ruth, hey, go to Boaz at night, almost like the prostitutes do, but don't act like one of them, right? And uncover his feet and lay at his feet. And then when he wakes up, like demand that he marries you. Ladies, it's like you're not married. There's a good way right there, you know. So she does. So she goes to Boaz. She uncovers his feet. She lays there and she demands that Boaz redeem her. She spread your garment over me, cover me. You are my redeemer. And Boaz acts very honorably towards her. And we talked about this last week. Moab has some shady foundings, and Ruth didn't act like a Moabitess. And Israel at this time, if you've read the book of Judges, they're so corrupt, they're so bad, but Boaz didn't act like one of them. And it's sort of like in these 2 people, you're seeing their family generation saying you should be acting dishonorably towards each other, yet they're acting honorably. They're redeeming both storylines in this moment. So that's Ruth and Boaz there. And Boaz says, hey, I'm not going to waste any time. You get out of here before the sun comes up. Don't let anybody know you're here. But I'm not going to waste any time. I will go to the city square because there's a complication. There's somebody closer than me in the family line that can redeem you, and I have to offer it to him first. That guy gets first right of refusal. So that's where we pick up the story. Boaz is now going to offer Ruth to another man, right? As one does. So if you're with me, we're in the book of Ruth. We'll be in chapter 4. Let's look at how this all plays out. Ruth chapter 4, verses 1 through 2. Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer. Again, this is the hidden hand of God. This is in the text, this divine coincidence language, just as. Like, oh, it just so happened. It's all over the book. Just as the guardian redeemer had mentioned had come along. Boaz said, come over here, my friend, and sit down. So he went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 elders of the town and said, sit here, and they did so. I want to pause here real fast because I think this is an important opening scene. What they're showing here, this is an ancient court scene. They're setting up 10 elders as witnesses of what is about to happen, and everything needs to be established by 2 or more witnesses. These are elders of Israel. These are important people. And then we have this phrase again, this guardian redeemer. And I know I've barely talked about this in the last couple of weeks, but we're going to talk a lot about it today. But the basic thing is, it is a male relative who had the responsibility to act on behalf of family members in need. The close male relative could be a brother, a father, an uncle, a cousin who was obligated under the Israelite family law to assist relatives in distress. I know that was a mouthful. But essentially, like, guys, if you're here, and just put it in real basic terms, if your sister-in-law's husband dies and she is childless, if you were living in the Bronze Age at this point, it would be your obligation to take her as a wife and give her a child. I don't want any funny stuff happening at Thanksgiving this year, you guys. But I'm telling you that that's essentially what the case would have been. They're looking for the nearest male relative who could take care of her. And that's what's happening here. So let's keep going. Ruth chapter 4, verses 3 through 8. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you redeem it, do so. But if you will not tell me, so I will know, for no one has the right to do it except you, and I'm next in line. I will redeem it, he said. Then Boaz says, on the day you buy the land, from Naomi, you will also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. At this, the guardian redeemer said, I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself, I cannot do it. Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and the transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself, and he removed his sandal. So when you're trying to make a deal here, oftentimes you want to sweeten the deal, right? Oftentimes you're like, and I'll throw this in. I got an extra tractor in this land. I'll throw that in and all that stuff. But what he does is he tells the man, I got this land. You should buy it. And you be a redeemer. And he goes, okay. But Boaz, I think, is intentionally, and the commentators think this too, is intentionally souring the deal because he knows he's next in line. And so he goes, yeah, oh, okay. The guy says, yeah, I'll buy it. And so he goes, okay, but there's a woman that comes with it, and she's a Moabite. And you remember, saying that somebody's a Moabite is a derogatory term in Israel at this point. And by the way, you got to marry her and give her a child. And so the guy goes, well, this is going to endanger my own estate. This is going to endanger my own inheritance. And which I did so much looking and ways in which this might endanger his own estate. And essentially, I think what he is saying here, and I'm open to being corrected on this, but I think what he's saying here is I'm not going to give my estate to a Moabitess. I think that's what he's saying here. I've done a lot of reading on this, and I'm not entirely sure because there's not a ton of work on it out there, but I think that's what he's saying. It's an anti-Moabite sentiment when he says that. And so one of the very first things that we see here, and which is the first thing in your notes, is this. Boaz jumps at the chance to redeem Ruth. As soon as this guy says no, as soon as Boaz sort of intentionally stuck a stick in the spokes of the wheel, Boaz jumps at the chance to redeem Ruth. And this is so important because remember how I talk about Boaz as an archetype? He's a person that, like, the Old Testament is all about building these stairs to the New Testament. It's in every step you get a little bit closer to Jesus. You learn a little bit more, and you're like scratching your head a little bit and going like, there's somebody like this in the future. Well, it's Jesus. Boaz is this guardian redeemer. We're going to talk about what that means for Jesus down the road here in a few minutes here. But the idea is that Boaz jumps at the chance to buy back, to purchase, to redeem Ruth. Do you jump at the chance to forgive people? Are you a redeemer? We know Jesus is the ultimate redeemer, but we're supposed to look like him, right? We're supposed to be in his character and his likeness. Do you jump at the chance to redeem people, or do you jump at the chance to hold things over people's head? What do you jump at the chance to do? You're like, oh, but I got so much good dirt on this guy. Or do you just jump at the chance to let things go? You jump at the chance to say, welcome back. Welcome back. We're good now. What do you jump at the chance to do? Boaz's knee-jerk reaction, this guy says, I can't do it. And Boaz doesn't even care that the guy has this anti-Moabite sentiment about him. Boaz is like, okay, great, I got it. I'll do it. And that was his plan all along, right? Is that he wanted to marry Ruth. And when you think about this, like I said, all of this leads to Jesus. And I think I've known so many people in my life who are like, I can't go to church. I can't follow Jesus. If God only knew what I did. You know, you hear all the different things, the litany of things that people say about why they can't go to church or why they can't follow Jesus or something like that. And it's like, don't you know that Jesus is just jumping at the chance to buy you back from darkness? That Jesus is just, he's like, I've already paid the final price. Like, I've already been crucified, stabbed in the side, dead for 3 days, and then rose from the grave. I'm ready to redeem you. Like, the time is now. I don't care what you did. It's time to come back. Boaz is absolutely setting up what Jesus would be like to this generation who will tell the story of Boaz over and over and over again. And I think the reason why the Bible is like this, like a set of stairs that leads to Jesus, is because people are sitting around the campfire telling these stories over and over and over again. And when Jesus comes, he wants to be recognized for who he is. Jesus will jump at the chance to buy you back from darkness. Maybe you're here and you've never even heard of this. This is for your very first time. Like, Jesus will jump at the chance to forgive your sin. Jesus will jump at the chance to make you new again. He will jump at the chance. When you put your faith in him, he comes to you and wants to make you new. He just jumps at the chance. Let's keep going in the story. I'm actually going to get through the last chapter of Ruth kind of quickly. It's all the other stuff I got that's going to take a little time here. Ruth 4, 9 through 12. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Chilion, and Mahon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family, from his hometown. Today you are witnesses. Then the elders and all the people of the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who's coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built the family of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrath and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, May your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. This is significant. Once the cat is out of the bag, once Boaz announces that he's going to marry Ruth and bring her into his family and give her a descendant, the elders of the town give Boaz this incredibly serious blessing. May the Lord make the woman who's coming into your home like Leah and Rachel. Holy cow, Leah and Rachel are the mothers of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's like, may it take this woman and put her in the genealogical maternal line of Israel. Like, elevate her from this poor beggar to this incredible status. By the way, do you know that that's what God does throughout the entire Bible? Is that he takes these poor beggars and elevates them. There's this narrative, I love following along the theme of the firstborn in the Bible, because God almost never raises up the firstborn. That's a cultural idea. The cultural idea is to raise up the firstborn. Sorry for all you firstborns out there. But what God does, I'm a secondborn. I don't care, right? I love this story. I love this story. But what God does is he takes all the secondborns, or the least of those, and he raises them up. And this is what he's doing with Ruth as well. He's taking the least of the least, the woman who's literally gleaning on the fields and just picking up from the dirt and the floor all the extra droppings of the food and going to try and eat that at home. And he's putting her in the family line of Israel. It's incredibly significant. They see what Boaz is doing here, and they see the significance of the moment, and they say, Boaz, may you be included in the patriarchs of Israel. You know, like that Abraham comes from, right? May you be included in all this incredible family line. May your family be like that of Perez and Tamar, who bore Judah. It's a reminder, like Boaz, you're ultimately in this story of redeemers of Israel. This is huge. What they are witnessing here and what they're confirming is this incredible picture of redemption. And they're saying, I hope this is remembered forever. How could you ever forget this? It's such a big story that the elders of Bethlehem are right. Boaz is remembered forever in the Bible. And we're going to dive deeper into that in a minute too. Let's keep reading the story though. So Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. When he made love to her, I know. The Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The woman said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better than 7 sons has given him birth. Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. This is the grandmother now. Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The woman living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. So what's amazing is that Ruth has been married for 10 years and is barren. She was married to Naomi's son Mahon and was barren the entire time, didn't conceive. Now, as an answer to prayer for the people at the gate, she immediately gets married, she immediately conceives, and she immediately has this son who becomes the grandfather of Israel's greatest king, King David. It's sort of a surprise in the story because, you know, we didn't know. I mean, we know because we've read the book of Ruth. If you've been around the Bible at all, you've read the Bible a little bit. You've read the book of Ruth and you know that this is sort of leading up to the story of David. But if you're reading the book of Ruth for the very first time, all of a sudden at the very end, at the very last minute, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this entire story is about a royal backstory. It's about David's origin story. It's about David's family. It's about the way David's going to rule. The kindness and the hesed and the man who's after God's own heart, where do you think that comes from? It comes from the book of Ruth. Israel's greatest king comes from here. This union, this faith, all these different things have now come together to have the grandfather of the greatest king of Israel. And I love, by the way, I love the women's comments to Naomi. By the way, they're like, having Ruth is better than 7 sons. That's a huge statement in Bronze Age Israel, because only sons, like Ruth couldn't redeem herself. She's a woman. You know what I mean? She couldn't redeem herself. She needed a man to come and redeem her and to buy her back. She couldn't buy property. She couldn't do that. Only in very rare cases could women take and own property. She needed a man to do it. And the women of Israel are looking at Naomi and saying, having Ruth is like better than 7 sons. This woman's incredible. You know, I love that. And to me, the community recognizing that says something about love that's very important. And I want to meddle in your marriages just for 1 second. I think I have the right to. I teach the Bible, right? And the Bible talks about marriage. It reminds us something about love. Today, in terms of love, oftentimes we talk about love based on feelings. And feelings are okay. They're good. Most people have them. I don't. I don't know what that is. I'm joking. I do have feelings. I just don't express them all that often. I'm joking there too. Sorry, I joke all the time. Okay. Mainly to give you good conversation with my wife. I'm saying this stuff out loud, self-deprecating stuff. But most people have feelings, and they have to feel in love. And, you know, it's like, I listen to like younger kids talk. I remember when I was a teenager, it's like, oh, you want to have the butterflies in your stomach when you're around that person and all that stuff. All that junk goes away. You know what I mean? It all just goes away. And what Ruth did was show this love in a different term than feeling. It was a love based on covenant faithfulness. In fact, that's your next feeling. Love in the terms of ancient times was understood as covenant faithfulness. It wasn't about, oh, I love this person so much. Oh, when I'm around this person, I get butterflies in my stomach. Oh, when I think about this person, I'm sitting on the clouds. It was like, no, I have decided that I'm going to love this person until death do us part. They are saying Ruth is better than 7 sons because she gave up her entire life and made a decision, made a commitment based on a covenant to take care of Naomi. That's why she's better than 7 sons. Because this is what she's doing. She loves her so much that she's made a commitment. Your marriages, the deepest love is to commit. To have covenant faithfulness in your marriage, to decide every day. You wake up next to him and he just kind of stinks that morning. But you've decided that you love that. You wake up next to her and I don't know, it's just like, ugh. But you decided that you love that. I'm not talking about you, sweetie. I am not in trouble, okay? Just so you know, she knows I'm not talking about her. Okay. The point is that this kind of love ought to dominate your marriage. Covenant faithfulness. This kind of love ought to dominate every relationship. You're like, I don't like that guy. I don't care. You're called to love him. You're like, oh, I got this person at work. Oh, I don't like him. Great, love him. Decide that you're going to love him. But I don't like him. I don't care. That the Bible never told me, like everybody. No, love them. Commit to them. Give yourself sacrificially. And show them what Jesus is like. Ruth actually, the reason why she's so praised is because Israel should be exhibiting the behavior of Deuteronomy 6:5, which is one of the most loved verses in all of ancient Judaism, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And by the way, that is a decision. And Ruth is the one embodying this. Ruth the Moabite. Ruth the one who's not from here. The one who's from outside is the one who's come in and shown Israel what it means to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. And this is why she's praised, because she's doing this. And there's even a deeper narrative going on here, one that you probably would never see unless you also read the book of Judges and the book of 1 Samuel all together. And let me just give you the little picture of this here. In the book of Judges, which Samuel also wrote, which happens right before the book of Ruth, there's a civil war that ends the book, and everything ends in death and despair. It's awful, it's wicked. And the person who started the civil war was from the tribe of Benjamin. And then you get this next picture of like hope in Israel, and it's like the first picture of hope you've seen in 21 chapters of the book of Judges. And it's this little story of Ruth, who's going to have a great-grandson who's going to be Israel's greatest king. And then you fast forward a little bit more, and you've got Samuel, who's writing all this story, and he's in the midst of having the first king of Israel, who's a train wreck. His name is Saul. Guess what tribe he's from? Benjamin. And he's got to prepare the way for the people to trust in this king that's going to come. So he goes, I know. We've been telling this story around the campfire for years. We've got to tell the story of Ruth, where David's family comes from, so that the whole people would accept this king that's come. I love all that. It all works together. And then the end of Ruth is just like a little lineage. It says, this then is the family line of Perez. Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Solomon, Solomon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. It is so good. I love this. But I also have to ask the question, what made Boaz the way he was? Who made Boaz? To answer that question, I want to take you deeper into Bible history here for just a couple of minutes. And it's going to seem like we're doing something totally different. But then I hope you see what we're doing here in a second. If you ever used to watch, I used to like watch the reruns of the TV show. Like, wasn't even being made when I was a kid, but the Monty Python TV show, the British sketch comedy, and they would just go, and now for something completely different. Turn with me to Joshua chapter 2. Now for something completely different. So if you're turning with me to Joshua chapter 2, one of the things that you're seeing in Joshua chapter 2 is that all the Israelites are going into the promised land. They're about to go into the promised land, but they've got to send spies first. And they go to Jericho. You know, they march around Jericho and get the walls to fall down. You know the story. There's a song. I'll sing it. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. It's a kid's song. Fought the battle of Jericho. They send in these spies, and we're going to pick up on that story right now. Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. Go look over the land, he said, especially Jericho. So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab, and they stayed there. The king of Jericho was told, look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land. So the king of Jericho sent his message to Rahab. Bring out the men who came and entered your house because they've come to spy on the whole land. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them, and she said, yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they had come from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gates, they left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly, so you may catch up to them. But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under stalks of flax that she had laid out on the roof. So the men set out in pursuit of the spies on the road that leads to the fords of the Jordan. And as soon as the pursuers had gone out and the gate was shut, before the spies lay down for the night, she went up to the roof and said, I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard of how the Lord dried up the water in the Red Sea. So for how you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. We heard of it. Our hearts are melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. The Lord, your God, is God in heaven above and on earth below. That's an incredible faith articulation, by the way. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show hesed, it says kindness, to my family because I have shown hesed, or kindness, to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and you will save us from death. Our lives for your lives, the men assured her. If you don't tell what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us this land. So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. She said to them, "Go to the hills, so the pursuers will not find you. Hide yourselves for 3 days until they return, then go on your way." Now the men had said to her, "This oath you made us swear will not be binding on us unless we enter the land. You have tied this scarlet and you have tied this scarlet cord to the window through which you laid us down. And unless you have brought out your father and mother, your brothers and all your family into your house, and all of them go outside your house into the street, their blood will be on their own heads. So we will not be responsible. As for those who are in the house with you, their blood will be on our head if our hand is laid on them. But if we tell you what we are doing, we'll be released from your oath that you made us swear. But if you tell what we are doing, we will be released from the oath that you swear." "Agreed," she replied. "Let it be as you say." So she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord on the window. There's some real big basics of this story that I want you to get. Rahab heard about the power of the Lord. She heard about the power of the Lord. And so you have to remember, like, what God does in one area, like, it's not just for that area. It's a witness to everything else. Like, Pharaoh's heart may have been hardened, but it was other people were turning to the Lord because of it. There was a cause and effect happening in a way other spot, in a very different spot. So they heard about the fear of the Lord. She showed them kindness, hesed. It's the same word that we find in the book of Ruth, that Ruth and Boaz show to each other, the hesed of the Lord. And she welcomes these outsiders. That's like a story we know, right? She welcomes these outsiders and is graceful and kind to them. And then she makes this incredible oath to them. And they basically are like, "Look, if you break this covenant, then the death of all your family will be on your heads. If you break the covenant, you will die." That's a pretty harsh, like, you better keep that covenant, right? So all of a sudden you get this Rahab, who's the lowest of low. She's a prostitute. I mean, come on. The way she feeds her family is that she has sex for money. That's Rahab. But she does this incredibly honorable thing and then gives us incredible faith commitment and says, "I know the Lord your God is actually the Lord of heaven and above and everything." Incredible faith commitment. She's kind towards outsiders. She shows hesed. It's absolutely incredible. And so I want to show you this verse, Matthew chapter 1, verse 5. Solomon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Did you know that Boaz's mom is this lady? It's like, where does Boaz get the kindness towards outsiders? Where does Boaz get the love towards other people? Where does Boaz have the compassion? It's from his mother. It's from Rahab. And Rahab, I mean, when we're reading in Matthew chapter 1, verse 5, is the lineage of the Messiah, Jesus. God takes the lowly, what our society would call the bottom dwellers, the bottom feeders of society, and he elevates them through these faith commitments and says, "No, these are my chosen people. These are the people whom I love, the people who love me." And he elevates them and puts them in these incredible positions. I love this. Rahab is the mother of Boaz. And what's interesting is that the book of Ruth doesn't say that, because they're following the paternal line. But Matthew was like, "Look, I want you to get this huge connection." who Boaz's mom was. It's this lady Rahab. Kindness, this is your next fill-in. Kindness, hesed, becomes a family tradition for Boaz. He's faithful through generations. What is God writing in your family story? What are you writing in your family story? What are you showing your kids? Who will their kids be and who will their kids be because of you? What are you writing? What story are you writing with your actions, with what you say, with what you do? Are you passing on the hesed, the loving kindness of the Lord to your generations to come? Did somebody pass that on to you? Do you need to break a curse in your family just by saying, God, this is something that's generational, it's been passed down to me, and I'm not going to take it anymore? And you just hand it over to the altar of the Lord and say, God, this is yours, not mine anymore. He's happy to do it. And there's something even bigger that happens here too, and that is this. The story of Rahab leads to the story of Boaz and Ruth, who become the great-grandparents of Jesus, obviously, which leads to another point. You've got the entire Bible and all these laws about redeeming humanity. But this is another point, and I want to dive deeper into this for the next couple minutes, and we'll wrap it up here. Ruth's most famous relative becomes the guardian redeemer of all humanity. Ruth's most famous relative becomes the guardian redeemer of all of humanity. Leviticus 25:48 says, this is what a guardian redeemer does. They retain the right of redemption after they've sold themselves. One of their relatives may redeem them. In other words, like there's a whole lot more here about what the guardian redeemer does, but it's a person that buys back somebody in need. That's it. It's the simplest form. And what does Jesus do? He comes and he sees us in need. We are drowning because of our sin. We are drowning because we go after false gods. We are drowning because we go after lies. We're drowning because we identify as sinful. I mean, the things we love to identify as are sinful rather than identifying as the children of God. And he says, I will buy you back. You've sold yourself over to sin. You have given yourself over to this junk, but I will purchase you back through the blood of my son. But how does he do this? See, the essence of the kinsman redeemer is that you have to be blood. You have to be blood related to the person who you're redeeming. So the author of Hebrews makes this amazing connection in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 11. Both the one who makes people holy and calls them holy are the same family. So Jesus is not ashamed to call them brothers and sisters. What he's saying is, look, Jesus became flesh to become our brothers and sisters. The word for kinsman redeemer is goel. This is goel language. That Jesus became our goel. He became our kinsman, our guardian redeemer, because he became our brothers and sisters. When he took humanity on, he became the kinsman of all humanity. Hebrews 2:17. For this reason, he had been made like them, fully human in every way, in order that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in service to God, and that he might make atonement for the sins of the people. This is all goel, or guardian redeemer language. The author of Hebrews is looking at Jesus, and the author of Hebrews, you got to understand what they're doing. The author of Hebrews is looking at the Old Testament and saying, whoa, all these steps are leading to Jesus, and let me show you how. And they're looking at the Old Testament language and putting it in New Testament language and showing the Jews, look, this Jesus is your Messiah. Look, God lays out these plans for generations, and he's faithful through generations. And he wants to show you his hesed. He wants to show you his loving kindness, and he wants to become like you, become human in every way, so that he can buy you back from the junk that you've sold yourself over to. You don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. But he makes this commitment to do it. I want to invite the band to come, and in these next couple of moments, we always have people who pray for you in the back, and if you have anything that you want to be prayed for, they'll pray for it, whether it has anything to do with this message or not. But I want to tell you this. I want to encourage you to think through this. Maybe you're here today and I don't know, you've just been listening to this Ruth series and kind of been an observer from far. I think that God is calling you to make this same commitment that Ruth made to Naomi. The same commitment that Boaz makes to Ruth. This same deep trust decision of I'm going to follow the Lord. This same deep trust commitment to give yourself over to the Lord. Maybe that's you this morning. Maybe you're here and you're just in awe of how, like, through generations God has worked. And in awe of how God has lifted up the lowly and put them in high places. You're in awe of Rahab the prostitute becoming the mother of Boaz, and Boaz redeeming Ruth, and bam, all of a sudden, the family line of the Messiah. God wants to do something in your family too. He wants to redeem your family. He wants to redeem your family's future. And it starts with a deep trust in believing who God says he is. It begins with a deep commitment to who Jesus is. Maybe it's time to take that family baggage and come lay it down at the altar and say, God, we have this family stuff. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to keep giving it to my kids because that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching in the gift bag and giving it to my kids. I don't want to do that. Make me new. Maybe you're here today and that's your prayer. Lord, I need to be made new. I need you to rewrite my future. I need you to redeem my past. I need you to purchase me back from whatever place I'm in right now, God. I want to encourage you to do that right now. Let's pray. Father, we lay all of our stuff down at your throne. All of our past we lay down at your throne. All this family baggage we lay down at your throne. God, and we ask that you would redeem it. God, we ask that you would spread the corner of your garment over us and that you would redeem us, make us new again, buy us back from the sin and the shame and the junk that's in our lives, and make us new. God, I pray that you would do amazing work through the generations, even in this moment right now, God, that this would be a moment that people would lay stuff down that would affect generations. Because God, you are faithful through the generations. We pray the work that you're doing through your power of your Spirit right now in the lives of your people here at REC will change Thanksgivings this year, will change Christmases, and will change generations to come because of what you're doing. God, we lay ourselves down at your feet. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your kindness. We thank you for your mercy. And we thank you for orchestrating these stories that show us how much you love us. In the name of Jesus, all God's people said.